Welcome to this third wall instructional video. This video is going to focus on really the basics and fundamentals of how to use third wall. It won't dive into the policies themselves. It will focus mostly on the mechanisms of how to use our plugin. This is an Automate plugin and assumes that you know the basics about Automate, but not necessarily about third wall. So let's dive in and take a look. Third wall, as you hopefully know, is a new plugin designed to help dramatically improve your ability to protect your clients in the cybersecurity world. So we have a number of different ways that help you do that. We have policies that are applied at the location level. We have profiles that allow you to deploy policies even further than that. We have controls for individual computers. We have controls for the at the client level. We even have controls at the integration level. So we'll take a look at most of those, plus throw a little bit in at the end about how to reach or access our reports and data views. But let's start with our policies. Now our policies are applied by Automate location. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a single Automate location, this one called Demo. And you'll see that there is a third wall tab integrated right in. All of third wall is fully integrated right into Automate. So if I open that, you'll see what is called our security overview. At a glance, it shows you all 58 of our policies and their current state on the computers in this location. Yellow, as you can see from our legend, means the policy is not active, so none of our policies are active. The black lines actually are not policies, they are titles of subsections, and they correspond with the subtabs over on the left. So you can use this for not only figuring out the status of the policies, but also for navigating to the subtabs, which is where we're going to do our work. This page is generally not clickable, with the exception of the profiles section down at the bottom, which we'll touch on briefly, although there is a separate video on profiles that I'll refer you to. So let's talk a little bit about the mechanics, the basic mechanics of how to navigate and how to turn policies on and off. So navigating is pretty simple. You look for the policy you want. Let's say we want to talk about disallow Microsoft accounts. And we find out what subtab it's in, the local built-in account management, and we're going to go there. Now again, I'm not going to discuss the individual policies themselves and what they do. There's an entire deep dive video on those, and I strongly recommend that you watch that, but we break this up into pieces. So this is focused on how to, not what it actually does. So I'm going to go to disallow Microsoft accounts, and I want to add this restriction to the computers on this location. To do so, I simply click the on-off switch, and you notice that the save button has turned green. I will click on that, and we have just turned this policy on. This one in particular just prevents people from logging on using their personal Microsoft credentials, things like Windows Live and Hotmail, things like that. But again, more on that in our other video. You'll notice that two fields have shown up. One is, when did we turn this on? That is useful for reporting purposes. We do now have a report that you can generate that and then hand to auditors, showing you every policy that you've turned on and when you turned it on. And that's an extremely useful report. And also this undo link, which is actually the primary way for removing a policy. It's not this on-off switch, it's the undo link, as you'll see here in a second. But before we do that, let's go to the overview page again, and you'll see that this one is now turned green. And the date is shown up there as well. So at a glance, you can see that it's on and when you turned it on. And of course, Legend confirms that that policy is active on the location. Let's go back in here. What do we do behind the scenes when we turn a policy on? Two things. One is we will change things on that computer. In this case, it's a direct change of registry. We are not using group policy to change anything. This is a direct write to the registry. That way, we don't rely on group policy, which of course is a domain function, and we work on all Windows computers, not just domain Windows computers. So we've done that, but the second thing is we've turned on a monitor, and that monitor is going to check every 5 minutes to see if the settings that you have requested are still there. In this case, that registry value is still there in the correct value. And if it is, great, it goes to sleep. 5 minutes later, wakes up, checks again, and repeat for every policy that's turned on until at such time it finds that there is a discrepancy. So then what does it do? First thing it does is it will do an auto fix. Set it back to the right setting. And again, we're going to catch that within 5 minutes, far faster than, for instance, group policy would ever catch it. We're going to auto fix it like group policy, but unlike group policy, we're also going to generate a ticket. So if I go to my Automate service desk, go to tickets, and I'll just open up all of them. And you can see our tickets start with TW, third wall. And we will issue a ticket saying, hey, we had to correct something, we had to auto fix something, and we've done so. Now, 5 minutes later, we're going to check it again, and if that state is still in the corrected state, if that value is in the corrected state, then we're going to automatically resolve that ticket. As you can see, several or most of ours are actually resolved in our database here. We don't want to be a ticket machine, but we do want to notify you that a cybersecurity setting has had to be corrected, and that's something you should probably look into. So that's going to be the most common variant of tickets that you're going to see with third wall. So let's jump back in and go here. So that's turning it on. Let's reverse course and turn it off. To do that, we have 3 different options actually. The first option is not really the correct option, although you might go for it right off the bat, is the on-off switch. This, if you read carefully, turns the monitor off, but it does not change the underlying values that you had put in place to apply restrictions. In this case, that registry setting is still there. We do allow that. I'm going to click Save, and you will find that it is now inactive, but inconsistent settings may result. Again, we've removed the monitor, but not the restricting values. So if you go back to the overview, you're going to see this is turned orange. Orange means applied and removed, but not undone. And therefore, you'll also notice that the date is missing from this screen, indicating we are not preserving that date for audit reporting purposes. Since we aren't monitoring it, we can't verify that it is in a corrected state, a protective state. So I'm going to turn it back on and click Save. And now let's go turn it off the more thorough way, which is this undo link. Now for most of our policies, where it makes sense, which is most of them, when you click undo, you'll get 2 choices: to do a full undo, get rid of it completely, or to temporarily undo it. Same effect, shorter period. So if I fully undo it, I'm going to click Save, and it goes away. The overview goes back to yellow, and you can see that it has been turned off. Let's turn it back on. Click Save. So that gets rid of both the value and the monitor, by the way. So let's click Undo again, and let's do this temporarily. And when I click that, I get a slider anywhere from 5 minutes up to a full hour. I will do an undo on this policy. Remove the monitor, revert the value, it's no longer protected, and I will click Save. And you can see it tells me what it did, and this is going to last for 60 minutes. So in 60 minutes from the time I click Save, third wall will automatically remove or re-enable actually that policy. So you will not be able to forget to do it. Third wall will take care of it for you. Back here, this is now pink, and you can see temporary undo is active, and it will be that way until it goes away. I'm not going to wait the full hour. I could, but I can click undo again, and I will just remove the suspension as an option, click Save, and it is gone, and it is back to green. So that is the on-off of the policies. Pretty basic, pretty straightforward, but the off in particular takes a little bit of understanding of your 3 options. Okay. Now there are some other policies that when you try to turn them on, you may get a ticket that says I tried but I failed. These first 2 are classic examples. If you try to rename or the local administrator account or set the local administrator password, you might get a ticket that says I tried but I failed. From third wall, of course. And the reason is, for this particular one, would probably be because you already had the local administrator account disabled. Third wall can't change a local administrator account name or password if it's been disabled. So that's why you might get a ticket saying tried, failed. So it's a little different flavor of ticket. Notice how if I don't hit the save button, I don't have to undo. I can just deselect, and those are gone. You'll also notice that several of our policies have an asterisk at the end, which means they will not apply to servers. They will only apply to workstations. Okay, so you'll want to understand that before you start applying policies. And you'll also notice that when I click some, like this one, these 2 are grayed out. They're not available to you with this, and vice versa. If I choose either one of these, this one's grayed out because they are mutually exclusive. That is the essence of applying policies one at a time. Now, some of them are going to have more settings. You may have a password protected screensaver where you have a slider, could go anywhere from 5 minutes up to 2 hours. Some of them have checkboxes, some of them have other types of sliders. Some of them will have radio buttons like this one. Disable Windows Installer allows you to choose a particular radio button. Some of them may ask you to type things in, like enabling a logon message, so you can type text into both the title and into the text. So again, all sorts of different settings that you may find useful as you go through this. I'm going to go ahead and click Save. I've only saved a couple of policies that I've turned on. As you can see, those are there. Um, that is the basics of turning them on and off and navigating to wherever they are. I'm going to very briefly talk about profiles. There is a whole separate video on profiles. Strongly encourage you to watch that and get a good sense of that. It requires it just demands a video of its own. But basically, profiles, you can save a particular configuration of policies as a profile, and then using this drop-down list, you can then apply it to other locations, either one location at a time or a client at a time or across every computer you manage. And there are some other interesting twists to profiles, but they're extremely useful. Strongly recommend that you go and play with that for a little while. Now, while I'm on this page, I've got an arrow down here that's worth mentioning, the reverse counterclockwise undo arrow. Now, this is an undo arrow for an entire location. It is one of several things that is protected as a user class with a new user class that's created in in Automate when you install ThirdWall. It's called ThirdWall Admin. There's also a new user class called ThirdWall Restricted. So ThirdWall Admin, if you have applied that, again, just a standard Automate type of um, permission. So you should know how to do that. Any super admin can do it. But ThirdWall Admin has superpowers. Nobody has ThirdWall Admin out of the box. The super admin must give that privilege even to him or herself if they want to be able to become a ThirdWall admin and use these. Anyway, this is an undo all. The drop down on the profile is also protected as a ThirdWall, only to ThirdWall admins. But I'm going to undo all on this screen. If I had a bunch of them, they would all go away, but I've only got 2. Do I want to abort it? No. And you can see that issues an undo globally across this entire location. I'm going to go back in and turn a couple more on just for just to show a couple of things further on down the road here. And let's see, that one, this one, this one, and let's try this one right here. Enable user logon reporting. You'll notice when I click on this one, it has a dependency on another policy, and it pops up a dependency check. Yep, I want to turn it on. It's this one here, and you can see that that's turned on. So if you have a dependency, and similarly, if I turn this one off, it'll force this one off. The only other dependency is this one here. This has the same dependency, alert on excess of failed logons. It has to have this log on and log off events turned on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save. And let's go back to the overview, and you can see I've got quite a few turned on. Now notice how a couple of these are light green. So what does light green mean? Light green means that there's at least one exception to one computer for that policy and for this policy as well. So at least one computer has been accepted. One of the really important things about ThirdWall is you can easily make an exception for any policy that you want to on the Automate computer screen with the ThirdWall tab. So let's go take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead and open up a single computer, this one here called Homer. And we'll take a look at Homer. Launching that. You notice there's the plugin symbol. I'm going to right click and go to ThirdWall and open up that screen. So let's take a look at this screen for a minute. First of all, I want to point out this one here and this one here are orange. Orange means the computer exception is enabled. Remember, on the other screen, these same two policies, and these correspond precisely with the policies on the location screen, these two policies were light green. So if I go back there and look here, you can see light green on the Windows 10 keylogger and write topical media, and here Windows 10 keylogger, write topical media. So those two are green or orange here, and they're green on the other screen to indicate that these are orange. So what does an exception mean? It means that that policy at the location level is not going to apply to this computer. It's just simply not. Um, and I can make that exception either before or after the location policy is turned on. But let's take a look at the colors here because the colors are important. Green on this page means the location policy is already active and impacting this computer. So you can see I've got a few that are active and impacting this computer. Yellow means that the policy is not active at the location level, therefore not impacting this computer. Pretty straightforward. And orange, as we already discovered, means the computer exception is already turned on. Okay, so let's go and make an exception to a policy that's currently yellow. Let's say we don't want smart screen to apply if it's later on, turned on at the location level, so we can block it from ever applying. Block this policy from applying to this computer. That's the terminology here. Click here, and a pop-up shows up. Yep, make an exception, and we've accepted it. Shows you when we made an exception, just like that. Okay. What if it's already green and we want to take care of it, make an exception? You're going to get a little bit different options. So if I click on this one, for instance, Enforce Password Protected Screensaver, I can click here. And because it's green, I get two choices. Make a permanent exception or a temporary exception. Okay, interesting. Well, what I'm going to do is make a permanent one to start with, just so you see it. And it goes away and it turns orange and it's good. I'm going to turn it back on. To remove that exception, you just click the slider switch again, click OK, and that goes away. If I want to click the temporary option, I can do here. And again, I got a slider for anywhere from 5 minutes up to a full hour. Click Save, and we've issued an undo. That's what exceptions do, is they issue undos. And we have forced that for, in this case, a full hour. At the end of that hour, the exception will go away and this policy will re-enable on this computer. Of course, we didn't disable it for any other computers. It was just this one that we did that for. Okay, I'm not going to wait for an hour. I'm going to go ahead and click that and click OK, and we'll get rid of the exception. So that is how you make an exception or remove an exception on a single computer. Now we've got some buttons down here that are pretty important. There is these two utility buttons. Now these are used, and this is quite important, for helping you to move a computer from a location within Automate to another location with Automate where they have differing third wall policies applied. Before you move a computer, you want to make it clean from third wall perspective. You want to get rid of all those settings. A lot of them are stored in registries and things like that. So if you just move a computer within Automate, you're going to drag those settings with you, and you don't want to do that because the new location won't get rid of them. That's not what the new location is going to be doing. So you need to get rid of those restrictions, those third wall policies on this computer before you ever move it. So to do that, we simply click Accept All. And we're going to make an exception. We're going to issue an undo for everything that's turned on. And everything's going to turn orange. So we just issued an exception for everything that was turned on, just like that. So now this is a clean computer from a third wall state. Now, important to note that this did not issue an undo for any of these orange ones that were not already green. So it only issues undos for ones that were green where the policy was already active. Important point. Second thing you want to do then is move this computer. Move it to the new location, and after you've done that, click the reset button. Reset will remove all the exceptions. Just like that, these are all gone. So what happens now is the monitors, remember those monitors on every policy that check every computer every 5 minutes? So now those are going to take over in the new location, and they're going to say, oh, okay, here's a new computer. And within 5 minutes, they will apply the third wall policies to this new computer in this location. It is new to this location, and those policies will apply within 5 minutes. Okay. I'm going to just quickly turn on a couple of these just because I need to show you something later. And that is the utility buttons. Now let's look at the emergency action buttons. They are very, very powerful for you to be able to stop to react in certain emergency situations. For instance, if somebody calls you up and they have a virus, normally today you would probably tell them to either turn off the computer or disconnect the Ethernet cable, right? And then send somebody out there in a car, drive out on site. Isolate will take care of that for you, so you don't have to drive out, because what it does, when I click on this, it will issue an isolate command. And that isolate command is going to go out and disconnect that computer from everything. No internet, no network, nothing at all, with the two exceptions, two very crucial exceptions. One is your Automate server, and two is your Control or Screen Connect server, so that you can then fix that computer without ever leaving your desk. Go ahead and fix it. It's good to go. You didn't have to drive out there, and now that it's fixed, you can restore the network, and it will reverse, and it will reconnect that computer to all the appropriate connections. Just like that, saved you a bunch of work and a trip. These three are all for lost or stolen computers. Screen lock will lock the screen with credentials you can get back in. Lockout will log everybody off that computer and then disable all local accounts, so the only way back on is with domain creds, so it's making it safer. It's also reversible, just like Isolate was. It's reversible right here. And Annihilate, which is user class restricted to third wall admins only, gives you a couple of choices. You can destroy the data and then destroy the operating system, or delete the data and then destroy the operating system. Secure Annihilate will delete the data and then overwrite that data with ones and zeros 3 times, and then it will destroy the operating system. So those are good. Again, third wall admins only, and if I click here on the Annihilate button, I do have to enter a valid Automate username for it to actually complete the task, and I will cancel that, as you might imagine. That is the computer screen and pretty much everything there is to know about the computer screen. So we've covered policies, we've covered profiles, we've covered a computer screen, and now I'm going to go and talk a little bit about ticketing again. So tickets are Automate standard tickets, and you can, just like any Automate ticket, if you're using, for instance, ConnectWise Manage, you can force them to go right through to your ConnectWise Manage. Well, we have a couple of interesting settings that'll help you with that as well. So I'm going to bring up System, Configuration, and the dashboard. So again, right within the Automate system, and I will drag that screen over, and we'll take a look at this. It has a configuration, integration, standard Automate integration screen, and now there is a third wall tab. There you go. There are a couple of different things here that are important. There's this app data executable blocking exceptions. This is a whitelist for one of our policies, which blocks app data applications from launching. This is where you can add whitelist to globally for that. There's also an assigned alert template. This is a default template. Actually, there is one already that exists when you install third wall. For any time we need to send you a ticket, there is a default, and it is send you a ticket. You can change that template however you want. If you click on this, all of the available Automate ticket templates or templates, alert action templates are going to show up. You choose the one that you want, and that will then go across globally to all of our tickets, all of our policies, except for one, the monitor for ransomware attacks, which has its own that you select there within the policy. The alert categories, you can also change the alert category for those tickets. Again, all of them that are available to you within Automate show up in the dropdown, and you can assign that, and that is very useful if you're passing through to ConnectWise Manage or another ticketing system that integrates with Automate, and that can help you cause it to show up on a particular ticket board. These functions on this page are all restricted, user class restricted to third wall admins, and only those couple that I've showed you are ones that you should use. The others, please do not use unless you've got somebody from third wall on the phone with you doing some troubleshooting. All right, I'm going to go back now to the main Automate screen, and I'm going to show you a little bit different. If instead of going to the client tree, I go to the groups settings and I go to, there is a third wall. We do leverage groups within third wall, and you can see here are the subcategories. Open up any one of these and double click on a particular policy. So I'm going to double click on that one, and I will bring up the monitoring screen. So I'm going to go to computers and remote monitors, and sure enough, there is that policy right there. And you can, from here, change whatever you want within the standard parameters of Automate. And that will go across that one policy globally. So you've got the ability to do that as well. All right, finally, the last thing I want to show you is going to be a little bit on reports that are available to you and data views. So let's start with reports. The reports are all contained within the Automate Report Center. So I'm going to go to Tools, Report Center, and we've got two separate reports for you to take a look at. And let's expand that out, and they are in the report list once you have installed ThirdWall. You can see we have the logon audit report and the client audit report. These are both client level reports, so you must select a client in order to generate them. So I'm going to go to logon report, and let's choose Florida, where I know I've got some data, and we'll view the report. And there it is. Let's scroll down where I've got some good contiguous data. There's a good screen. So some things about the report. Yes, you can brand it. It's a standard Automate report. It does not have any parameters that you can change. It is hard-coded, so that first of all, it runs for a month plus 1 day backwards from the day you run it. And the reason for that is so that you can then schedule it to run monthly. And if you do that, it automatically runs and sends you and/or your client a PDF every month. Then you will have a day overlap every month from the previous report. Gives you a full archive of all of the logon events that you desire for the entire client. And those include things like unlocks and logons, and the time they started and the end time, which is, for instance, a log on started here, and this is the log off under the end time. And here's an unlock, and here is a lock, an unlock and a lock. And these are nested actually inside of this log on event. So there's a lot more to learn about this. I suggest you take a look at the deep dive video, and you can learn more about this particular report and how useful it is and why our clients love this report. Actually, our clients' clients love this report, and it's a really powerful tool. There is another report to take a look at called the Client Audit Report, and again, this is client level. So I'm going to select a client, and I'm going to view the report. And you can see that this lists for this client by location every policy that is turned on within ThirdWall and when you turned it on. And remember, monitor it every 5 minutes. Hand this to your compliance auditor for cybersecurity, and you will get a lot of check marks off on the compliance audit checkbox for actually doing the right thing. So this is extremely powerful for any of you, your computers or clients that are under audit for security compliance. This also, as you note, shows you the exceptions for computers. Every computer that has an exception is going to be listed here. And this is the only place that you will see the exceptions listed. So that's our two reports. Let's go back and wrap up with data views. There are several data views that you want to look at that are available to you. I'm going to right click. You can right click, of course, for data view anywhere you want to. Data view, ThirdWall. So you can see there are 5 different data views. One of them is the USB wall file transfer audit, which I won't talk about. Please watch the deep dive video for that. There is the user login audit that shows you at a glance all of the logon events, and this is the only place that you will see failed logons. So this is exact same data from the report. However, it shows you 60 days worth of data, which is all that we keep. There's a rolling 60 days. And this is the only place you'll see the failed logon events, but you'll see locks, unlocks, logons, logoffs, and failed logon events all right here. I'm going to right click again, go back to data views, go to ThirdWall, and there is the enabled policies data view, which shows you at a glance all the policies that are on and where they're on and when you turn them on. So this is a really simple way to find out all of the policies that you've got everywhere. And let's go to data views again, right click data views. There are 2 more. There is the computer audit log and the location audit log. These are both logs of ThirdWall commands that you and your team have issued. So you can get a listing of what you've done with ThirdWall over the past 60 days. So if I go there, you will see that there is a very full listing. I've got 29 pages worth here of them. I keep more than 60 days on my computer because I know how to do that. But you'll keep 60 days worth of data, and it will show you all of the different policies that apply, all the different actions that you've taken, rather, within ThirdWall for an internal audit purposes. That is ThirdWall. How to use it. I do recommend you watch our other videos. There are a number of them that could be quite useful to you and learn why you need ThirdWall. But hopefully this one will help you understand how best to use ThirdWall. Thanks very much for listening, and we very much appreciate your business. Take care.